Hello, my name's Joe,
And I'm Shmo.
and this will be our first podcast episode, and we will be talking about our initial journeys into the military and what that entails.
Absolutely. So we have different bullet points here. This is obviously a pilot run. So for those of you who are new, we are new too. So this is just going to be a big old journey for all of us. And hopefully we get a couple chuckles out of you guys. If not, then you're probably choosing the wrong podcast to listen to. Mm.
All right, so how did you first hear about the military?
How did I hear about them? Okay, so my sister's husband was a former Marine, so shout out to all veterans out there. He was a Marine for 10 years, served in whatever war was going on at the time. And he really brought some light into my life of like just introducing the fact that there's more than just going to grad school after undergraduate, like schooling and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said you should really consider the military. And that was just my intro of it. I mean, I don't come from a military family, or at least not really. Like, yeah, my grandpa served in the wars or whatever, but like I feel like everybody's grandparents did. Like that was
Yeah.
just like the thing to do. So yeah, uncles, dad, cousins, like nobody served in like anymore. So I guess it's just like a first generation thing, but not. I know.
Nice.
What about you?
So I first heard about the military. I was I was in my senior year of high school. I was in my physics class, and this recruiter came in. He was a nuke, and so he was talking about how like a nuclear reactor works, and then he started talking about all the bonuses that the nukes get, and I'm like, ooh, money. So I went to the recruiter, I want to say later that week, and I don't think I told my mom, or if I did, I texted her, and she wasn't going to stop me. And then went there, uh, took a little practice ASVAB, and then that was essentially how I first heard about the military. Prior to that little like meeting with this nuke recruiter, I had no idea, or I I was not thinking of the military as a possible route to take.
Did you want to go a different route other than the military, or was that just kind of like the end all be all when you heard this?
So at the time, I was thinking either. So once I had heard about the nuke option, I was like, all right, well, I absolutely want to go nuke because of all the bonuses. Uh, but at the time, I was thinking either doing an electrician apprenticeship or doing nuclear stuff. So in the end, or I ended up choosing the apprenticeship stuff, and then COVID came and went, and that was when I was like, ooh, military.
As you should. Tell me about the very first day you walked into your recruiter's office. How did your
So
experience go?
yeah, so I came there fresh from swim practice. So I had on the clothes I wore to high school that day. So probably like sweatpants, t-shirt, slides, and some socks. So super fashionable. Uh,
Oh, cute.
and then I walked in and I started talking to him, and I was like, yeah, like I wanna like try and go nuke, and they were like, well, okay, uh, but like just like so you know, like the nuclear field, like it does like require like a very high ASVAB. Uh, what does ASVAB stand for again?
So ASVAB, we'll get into this a little bit later, but ASVAB, for those of you who are wondering, stands for Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. We'll explain what it is later.
Yeah, so I took this practice ASVAB, and I ended up scoring like a 77 on it, or like something in the 70s. And after I was done taking that, they were like, well, you didn't you did not score high enough for like a nuke, but there are like waivers and stuff. So like that was my first impression, and after that, like I went home and I started to talk to my mom about it, and that was essentially how like the like first interaction with the recruiters went. How's yours?
Before I jump into my story, what was your mom's reaction?
She she was totally she had a mixed reaction. So A, moms hate seeing their kids like go away for like any amount of time.
Oh,
But like
absolutely. Yeah.
B, like she was expecting me and she really wanted me to at least like go to like a college and just like try college for a year. And
Yeah.
and I was like, "No, mom, like I just want to go. Like I I I just don't want to do like the community college route. Like I understand the benefits and I know that I probably wouldn't pay anything because I could work and I could like pay off school as well, but I was like I just want to go honestly just like away from home and just like start experiencing what not home is.
You should. And keep in mind though, for those of you that are listening, college isn't for everyone. And I hope that, I give mad respect for people that, join the military right out of high school. Like I say that left and right all the time. And I just hope that people understand that just because your friends or the people back home, like if you're planning on joining all of your friends, if they're like planning on going to college, that does not mean that you have to join either. Go to the beat of your own drum. You don't have to follow the quote unquote status quo of what your hometown seems to be doing. You are allowed to be different, and that is okay.
Mhm.
Not trying to sound all inspirational here, but I learned that, I guess, not really the hard way, but it took me a while to understand that it is okay to not follow what everyone in your hometown is doing.
I think also that
So,
like the past what like however many years that like it's been pushed, but like the like general consensus from like the entire public is that the only way to be successful is to finish high school,
degree.
go to
Yeah.
college, be a doctor or like be an engineer. And now like there are so many jobs that are like full and
Yeah.
it is very hard to get a job as a graduate. And honestly, like, one of the huge reasons why I either wanted to do the apprenticeship or the military and not school was because I knew that with with all the money that the government was pouring into the economy, that at some point there was going to be a crash, and I did not want to be a part of the forgotten generation. Just like how the people who were graduating college, like around like 2008, were when they just couldn't find a job because nobody was hiring.
And it's sad too. You're going to see a lot of students that are coming out of college with college debt,
Hmm.
and God knows when they're going to pay it off.
Yeah,
If they can get a job, if they're lucky enough to get it, a couple months to even like a year or two fresh out of college. So,
yeah.
uh, you asked me about my experience of waltzing on into the recruiter's office. Oh boy, my story. So I walked in, oh gosh, I think this was July 5th of 2020
Hmm.
was when I did it. So COVID full spring, full spring. What am I saying? Full swing words.
There you go.
So yeah, COVID full swing. Um, I walk in, I'm wearing, I guess, what people would consider business casual.
Sure.
Um, yeah. So, I had, apparently this is casual and like nice to people's eyes, but I was wearing black jeans. They were skinny jeans, so they looked nicer. I was wearing a pair of flats. I had a nice like blouse on, like a camisole. Um, and then I had a blazer on. I had my hair curled, by the way, so it like
Ooh.
looked real good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I walked in, and I'm like, it's like from like a movie scene. I like walk in and I'm like out of breath and it's like I don't even know why I'm out of breath because the walk from the parking
Yeah.
lot is like maybe what 15, 20 feet.
Mhm.
And so I walk in and like you have to like buzz the little buzzer because like
Yep.
it's a government building. So like you're
Yeah.
waiting and like waiting. And then I'm like, oh God, please don't be here, please. Because I'm like, you're scared. Like you're a civilian. You know,
Mhm.
you don't really know whether or not you want to like even do this. My heart's racing.
You don't know
And
what it
so the
looks like
fucking
inside either.
no, like I'm like prepared for like all of these like military people to like whip out their guns and like just do some like crazy shit. And I'm like, oh God. So it buzzes. I'm like, man, like come on.
Yeah.
So I walk in and I'm like looking around and that day I remember it was kind of packed in there. Um and all the recruiters, all their heads just jolt up.
Mhm.
Like peering right at the door. I'm like, oh God, here we go. And so I went to the nearest recruiter, which side note, he looked like Channing Tatum. God love him. He is a phenomenal recruiter. So perk for me having him. I sat in his little cubicle and he was like, hi, like, how's it going? And I was like, I want to join so and so branch. And so he was like, okay, like, all right, like, let's get the paperwork started.
Mhm.
So it turns out later on down the line, I got really close with all of my recruiters. Like they were very funny. They've been texting me throughout my military career so far. Um, and like a couple months ago, my legitimate recruiter that I saw from day one essentially told me that he thought I was like some like inspector or something.
That's
And
funny.
he was like, we were all like on our best behavior. Like we honestly thought you were like inspecting, like an undercover like inspector to like see if like everything was like being done right or like the building was like in good shape and like we just didn't want to like show you around because like we didn't want to like get hit on anything. And I was like, oh
Mhm.
my God, no, I just wanted to join the military, like Jesus.
Yeah.
So very funny. My recruiters were very easygoing guys. So I definitely think it helped too. Like I said, I built a pretty good rapport with all of the recruiters in there. So like I know like once when you go in and like you sit down in the cubicle with like whatever said recruiter, like that tends to be like that person's recruiter, like main recruiter.
Mhm.
However, in my office, it was kind of weird. My office was going through like a weird phase where like a lot of the recruiters are being swapped out because their time for shore duty was like coming to an end. So they would
Yeah.
have to get switched to like another office or like to their next command. Um, so a lot of that was changing. But overall, like the office worked like how you would think the military would work in general. Like it was just very cohesive. Everyone was on the same page. I
Mhm.
loved my office. Everyone was super great. So if like one person was not there for the day, others would be like, okay, well, so and so's not here. So like I'm gonna help you out for the day and like
Yeah.
just diving right in. It's like I didn't really feel lost throughout the process. And I was definitely told or like had all of my questions answered when I was very unsure about, oh, what is this? What is that? Blah, blah, blah. Like, can you be a little bit more specific? Can you clarify this for me?
Yeah.
And they did a great job. I loved my recruiters. I would rant for them for days.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know how other people's experiences were. I can only say about mine, and I'm sure you can say about yours. I mean, did you have your recruiters? Like,
Mine, mine weren't bad. I think the only thing that like I disliked about mine was the fact that like we did nothing. So we had a mandatory meeting once a month, and from from what I've heard from like other people, like that wasn't a whole lot of like meeting time. And like I think like the most we did was we practiced marching one day. We did like a quiz on like on the information, and then I think that was it. Like it was not a very active like it was not very active in the sense that like they were like pushing for you to go
all
like
together. Like, it
yes,
wasn't very demanding.
yes. It was it was not very demanding at all.
So, guys, what he's talking about right now, these meetings, they're called DEP meetings, DEP. DEP stands for Delayed Entry Program. It's this phase between when you go to MEPS, which we'll talk about next, and to when you're actually shipping out to go to boot camp. We'll just start with MEPS before I get into this whole long, like, everything is intermingled all together.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. So MEPS, it stands for Military Entrance Processing Station. It's essentially where you take these tests to, I'll just read what the Army says. GoArmy.com says, and this is the definition that they have for MEPS. MEPS determines your mental aptitude as well as your physical and moral qualifications for enlistment. In a nutshell, it's essentially stating, hey, we're going to throw a bunch of tests at you, and we're going to see whether or not you're capable of passing these tests to see if you are qualified enough to be in whatever branch that you want to join.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all it is in a nutshell. MEPS, it depends on the process. I know my process is very different from yours, Joe. So why don't you tell us about yours? Because you definitely had a wonky experience.
Yeah, so I went to MEPS 3 times. So the first time, it was like the first time. So I needed, so when you go to MEPS, you will be staying at a hotel for like a night, and usually MEPS is like a 2-day process. So if you need to take the ASVAB, you will take the ASVAB there. I ended up taking the PICAT, which is similar to the ASVAB, but it's like an online version that you can take at your home. So when you take the PICAT, you need to take a test at MEPS as well. And what that test essentially does is it kind of like verifies whether or not you were cheating when you're taking the PICAT. So if you get like a super high score on your PICAT and then you take this verification test and you score super bad, that will kind of be like an indication that you like had like a calculator out, or where you were like always looking up the answers. So I ended up taking that, and then that took probably like an hour, like at most, and then I had to take the bus back to the hotel, and that bus didn't come until, gosh, probably like 9 or 10 at night. So just so late, and all you're doing at MEPS is just sitting around, and you have to put your phone and your bag and stuff in this back room. And the reason for that is because it is like we will say again and again, but it is a government building, so the security is generally higher than most. Yeah. So all of your stuff's in this back room, and all you have to do is sit in these horrible chairs, and
very uncomfortable.
there's always a TV going with the news, and so you're just watching the news for hours at a time in this city that you probably don't live in. So you're just learning about all this information of this new town that you're in, and it's like, I don't care what is happening in this town, but I am bored out of my mind, so I'm going to listen to what this news person is saying. Yeah, so I got back to the hotel, and the first time I went, it was definitely an experience in which, like, it was like, oh, this is like a glimpse of like what the military is like. So I'm like kind of nervous, and the next day you got to wake up super early so you can go to MEPS again at like 04. So go there and you start doing what is essentially just like a big long physical. So there's like an eye test, there's a hearing test, there's an inspection part where they look at everything, but it is essentially just like a high school physical for like any sport that you would play in high school, but just like a a bit more. And there's a urinalysis as well, so like a piss test. There's uh, there's a time when they have to draw your blood. So if you don't like needles, I apologize, but stand by for that. Uh, and then it ends in this like test where you have to like complete this these like set up like exercises where it is just making sure that your body can perform and function. So it's like walk on your heels, walk on your toes. Can you touch your can you touch the palms of your hands to your forehead? Can you touch your thumbs to your shoulders? Uh, can you touch your toes? It is it is like that kind of like general stuff. And the infamous one that everybody talks about is the duck walk, which is basically you are just in this super deep squat, like deep squat, and you have to like walk forward and then turn around and then walk backwards. So that is essentially all MEPS is, but I had to go back there 3 times. So I I had a medical issue that I had to tell them about because it is a very easy thing to see. So I told them, and so I had to bring my recruiters all this medical paper, and then I went back the next time and I had an X-ray, and then that was all I was there for. So I went there. I stayed at the hotel, and the hotel does have pretty solid food, which is so
Mm.
nice because you can just
Mhm.
have like a great meal prior to waking up at 04 and going to do this bullshit again. So I had a super nice meal, and then I went to MEPS again. I had an X-ray which took maybe 30 minutes, and then I was back just waiting at MEPS. And then the third and final time I went prior to shipping was the time when I actually sat down with the people in the back offices for the branch I wanted to join, and I signed on the dotted line, and that was it really.
So what did you sign for ultimately?
So I initially, yeah, so I signed for AV, which is an avionics rate. So, uh, yeah, so I signed for AV, and I currently have a 5-year contract. So, yeah.
You should.
How was your MEPS
So
experience?
my MEPS experience, not quite as drawn out as yours.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you definitely did hit a lot of points. So that was a lot that was just said for that one experience. Now I'm going to tell you right now that everyone's experience of going to MEPS is going to be different. Um, like I said, mine wasn't as drawn out. You can end up going there at minimum twice,
Mm-hmm.
how I did, or you can end up going there a plethora of times. It just depends on your situation.
Yes.
I know a guy, when I was going through the whole process myself, had to end up going back, for, I don't even know, at minimum 3 times. He had like a financial situation of some sort that he had to
Ooh.
settle. Yeah. And I don't think he is currently in the military because of that situation. I don't know. Um,
Damn.
it was very weird. Um, so my MEP situation, I went twice. I was told by my recruiters. So let's back it up a little bit. Um, my head recruiter of my office made me take the practice ASVAB. As you mentioned before, you got like a 77 you said on
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
So I took my practice ASVAB and I got, what was it? Like somewhere in like the 40s or something like
Oh
that.
wow,
It was
that's low.
it was very low. Okay, so I know I'm not a very good test taker by any means. I get very bad test anxiety, so it doesn't even matter. Like it could be the easiest test, and I would like just panic for no reason.
Yeah.
So I got somewhere in the 40s, and my recruiters were like, "Oh yeah, like you're passing. Like that's all you need. You just need to pass.
That's
Like
a
you're gonna
great
be great."
score. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I feel like they say that to everyone to like just boost their ego just a little bit, but
I will
whatever.
definitely say that if you pass the ASVAB, your recruiters will definitely say, "Oh my gosh, that's a great
Yeah,
score."
you're great. You're solid. You're
Yeah.
doing it. So I think they kind of like just realized because my recruiter, my main recruiter was a nuke. So a lot of my recruiters were actually nukes or like ITs or just like really, really smart jobs.
Yeah.
And they see this college girl, so they're like, all right, like, she probably has to be smart. She just went through 4 years of college,
Yeah.
comes out with like a 40 something, like, damn, like,
What
she's actually a dumbass.
what just
Yeah,
happened?
like, she's a dumbass. So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, accepting it as is. Anyways, back to the story. So, I do the practice ASVAB, and my head recruiter was like, okay, so we know where your like baseline is. We have a general baseline score.
Mhm.
Do you want to go to MEPS now? And I was extremely hesitant because I'm like, oh my God, like the MEPS, like that's it. Like that is, I'm signing the dotted line. Like
Yeah.
that is it. And he was like, what are you waiting for? Like super like inspirational, like going like all dad mode on me, like ah, like he's just like seriously, like what are you waiting for?
There
And I
is
was like,
no time like
well,
the
like
present.
yeah, literally like motivational speaker galore. So
Yeah.
I took his advice and I was like, you know what? Fuck it, let's go. Like let's just full send automatically. So I go,
Mhm.
I go up to the MEPS that's in my state. And so I go, he gives me the date. He's like, hey, like be here at the recruiting station at this time.
Yeah.
The bus will take you up to MEPS. And I was like, okay, great. Side note, for those of you that have not been up to MEPS for your first time and you were listening to this right now, your bus, if you are like actually carpooling from your recruiting station, will be stopping at numerous like cities along the way to get to the MEPS. It is
Yeah.
not just like you and whoever else is going with you at your
Station.
station. It is literally a plethora of people. Like it is a whole load.
Yeah.
So my little princess ass thought that it was just going to be me and like the two or three other people that were like actually shipping out from like the station to go to the Air Force and like go to boot camp or basic
Mhm.
training, whatever they call it. And it's like, oh, okay. I had to pee so bad on that bus ride.
No.
It was bad. It was so bad. So, yes, I was very nervous the day that I was told to go up to MEPS because I knew that that was going to be the day that I would have to sign papers and I had to take the test the same day too.
Yeah.
It was very, very tedious. So I woke up that morning and I ate breakfast at like 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Oh man.
Yeah, I did not eat until it was like 22, 21 or 22
That's so
of
long.
that night. Yeah. So keep in mind when you get to MEPS, you're just sitting around waiting for your name to get called or to be like brought into this like little cluster of people that you're with to
Yeah.
be told to go to like this station
Mhm.
or like whatever. And so, oh God, the worst part, I remember, so like when you get there or whatever, right? I'll give you the whole rundown. When you get there, you're gonna go through like a security system. It's kind of like TSA. Um, you can't have like any weapons on you, obviously, because it's a government-based building.
Yeah.
Um, so you're gonna like set all of your like belongings on this little like conveyor belt. They're gonna like look through it like TSA. You're gonna walk through like the metal detector.
Mhm.
Um, don't be dumb. This guy that I was with brought a razor with him. For some reason, I don't know why, he brought a razor.
He just wanted the fresh
Some
shave.
He wanted to look to the nines,
Yeah.
right? Props to him. Anyways, you get all your stuff. You get all your stuff. And like you said, you put it in this back room
Mhm.
because high security, all of like your I don't even know, like all of like your personal like life documents
Yeah.
you're gonna have with you. Your cell phone goes in the back room and you're just waiting. And
Yep.
so the way that mine was set up, because I haven't been to any other MEPS, the way
Mhm.
that mine was set up, you have this like big lobby area with just
Yeah.
like seats everywhere. Um, and then like you have like your little like lunch eating room and like
Yeah.
this glass room on your right. And then like to your left is like the big like desk lobby. And then like in the back corner, it's like your liaison offices. And then like
Mhm.
in the other back room is like the actual testing room for your ASVAB.
Yeah.
Um, so I remember going there, God, and there was a line waiting to go to the lobby because you had to get your little name sticker that says like your first name, your last name, your middle initial, and like the branch that you're wanting to join.
Mhm.
And so I'm in the back of the line, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't know where I'm supposed to be. I'm gonna cut all of these people because I'm like, maybe I'm
No.
not even in the right, yeah, maybe I'm not even in the right line. And so I go up and there's like this like caution tape like on the ground, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you can't like, God forbid you step an inch over that caution tape because like, oh, like, oh, it just doesn't look professional.
This is the
Ugh.
military. Like I have to do everything like the way I'm told, and I can't mess up, otherwise they're gonna just like kill me or something. I don't know.
With all like their guns and like,
Mhm.
yeah. So, anyways, I start panicking because I'm like, oh shit, like I don't like they didn't call me, like I don't know, like oh what am I doing? And so the person, God love them, I don't even know who they were. They took me by the arm and like yanked me behind the sign, like here, stand here, because like we don't know if like we're supposed to go up yet. So I just cut like 20 people in this
Hell
line and
yeah.
like finessing the system. And like, they're probably all pissed off at me because like, oh, this girl just cut. Like, ugh, ugh,
Yeah.
ugh. So, hey, you know what? I didn't get in trouble for it, so go me.
Mhm.
Anyways, from what I can remember, I got my sticker and all of us just kind of sat there in these seats. And then we probably signed some paperwork. I don't remember specifically like the order of everything. But I know that I eventually got to this back room where you were sitting in like these like high school looking desks. Like
Yeah.
it was super weird. Like there was just like rows and rows and rows of like these desks, and then like on your left was like your like swear-in room, like where you had like all of like the branch flags and then like
Mhm.
the little emblems and then like the iconic pictures if you see like any of your buddies like with like their military pictures or whatever, like they probably have it on like their Instagram like, oh, go Marines raw, like
Yeah.
okay, great, love that. um so I just remember sitting in that room in those like high school desk chairs for I kid you not, like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
2.5 hours waiting to take this ASVAB.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll go into like what the ASVAB is a little bit more in detail. So, like I said before, it stands for the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Um, it's a test that essentially tests different categories. So mathematics, reading comprehension, mechanics, electronics, um, like science, so like your mechanical comprehension. And then depending upon what branch you go into, you're going to have an extra test. I know
Mhm.
for my branch, I had this extra test, and um, I know for the people that are in the branch that I'm about to describe this test for, you're probably gonna be, oh yeah, I remember that. So you had like these like three lines, and there would be a box that would appear above or below the line, but it would blink fast,
Yeah.
and you had to remember the order in which like these boxes would like flash above or below. But like if it flashed above the line, it was like +1. If it flashed below, it was -1. So you had to like
Mhm.
remember the ultimate number at the end of the whole test. And
Yeah.
that was for like a memory test. It was really cool, but I'm like, okay, great. Um, so yeah, that's essentially what the ASVAB is. So if you take the PICAT, it's obviously shorter for you, but taking the ASVAB, it just depends upon how fast of a test taker you are
Mhm.
and how well you are at taking tests.
Yeah.
So, or well, how well you are at taking tests, how good you are.
Mhm.
Jesus. Oh my God. So, anyways, mine took, I think, in total a couple hours. I'm a very slow test taker. I'm a very
Yeah.
nervous Nelly test taker, just the way that it is. Um, So I got my scores for it. You'll get your scores immediately after. Like you submit like your test scores, and then you'll go up to the person that's like watching you like take the test, and they'll literally like print them out to you like point blank right there. And you'll
Yeah.
read your test results. It's pretty cool. You take your test results with you and you wait in like another room. And then you go to the liaison. If you're like me, I went straight to the liaison after that, and they like saw my test scores, like, okay, you're eligible for this, and this, and this, and blah 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 blah, like your whole list.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so prior to me taking the ASVAB, I studied for it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know about you. Did you study for yours?
I I yes. So I didn't I don't want to say that I studied a lot, but I definitely was like, okay, like if I want to be like a nuke, like I definitely have to take this seriously. So so I studied, I don't want to say like too too much, but like I like definitely took time to like try and find like an app on my phone that I could like use, and I ended up trying to find this like online like study guide, I guess. And what it had was it had just like all different like sections that like pertain like to the ASVAB, and I read that prior to taking the PICAT, and I ended up scoring super well. So I got a 96, which which
Damn.
which is very high. So the
Yeah.
ASVAB is based off of percentages. So if you score a 99, which is the max score, you are in the 99th percentile. So I scored a 96. So I was in the 96th percentile for like everyone who was taking the ASVAB. So I definitely scored well. But to answer your question, yes, I did study for the ASVAB, and like I was like watching videos. I was trying to find like any little thing that I could do to just like score like a few points better, because on that practice test I took in the recruiter's office, like I got like a 77, I want to say, which isn't bad, but that was not high enough for the rate I wanted.
It's a child right outside of my window. Sorry if I'm like distracted right now. It's like a child outside of my window.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, okay, so like I said earlier, I scored like in the 40s
Mhm.
for like my practice ASVAB that I took like in the like back corner office of the
Yeah.
recruiter's office. And then when I took the ASVAB, I scored like somewhere in the 60s. I don't remember. So like a whole 20-point jump.
Mhm.
Um, and so I studied. I studied my rear end off my biscuits.
Yo, your biscuits off?
I studied my biscuits off.
Yeah.
And so I bought an ASVAB book. And I really did study that. They had like different practice tests that I could take
Mhm.
throughout the booklet. I made flashcards as well. So
Hell yeah.
for the yeah, for the mechanics and the electronics sections, which I was not very familiar on at all, by any means. I've never had any sort of introduction to that in my life. Um, Dad is a handyman, but I don't know, I guess he was just self-taught and didn't really feel the need to just pass on the wisdom, which is fine.
Mhm.
I didn't really ask, so he didn't really know. But um, I made these flashcards, so I didn't know anything about like engines, and all I know that like when I took that practice ASVAB, there was a lot of questions based on like what is this part of the engine? What does this
Yeah.
do? What like how many revolutions? And like what was a revolution? I don't know. Like geez, like it was not
You
clicking.
knew nothing.
So I knew nothing. I
Yeah.
was not a science major at all. Um, so like I said, made flashcards. I was familiar with like tools because I had taken like welding and wood shop in college. So like I was very familiar with like names of tools and like what they looked like, what they were used for, which was a benefit, that
Mhm.
was, very helpful. Um, I went to the extent of asking my father, like, hey, can you point this out to me on the car? And so he literally popped the hood of the
Oh hell
car and
yeah.
was like, this is, yeah, like go pops, like, all right. So he was really nice about it. He really helped
Mhm.
out a lot. So it came to the mechanics portion, when I got to the test, and I actually ended up scoring pretty good on it for that part. Um, so that was crazy. I remember studying for math a lot too in that
Yeah.
booklet. Like that was like my main focus was studying for math. I'm not a math person by any means. Um, I still struggle with like find the percentage if Lucy has like 20 apples and Gerald eats like 7 of them. And it's like, okay, shit. No, like fuck. Like let me first of all, why is Gerald eating 7 fucking apples? I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like go Gerald, go. But like I struggle with like simple shit like that. And it's like my mind just doesn't click. Like I know.
It's just not
Jeez.
tracking.
So it's not tracking. It's not going by any means. So yeah, I ended up scoring very well on the mathematics portion when I took the ASVAB.
Hell
I am
yeah.
more of an English person, so you would think, yeah. So I would think that like the reading comprehension would have been a lot easier for me, but that was actually the reading comprehension was my lowest score, which is
No.
crazy. It was, yeah. Oh God, and mathematics was my highest, and I was like, okay, like that's kind of weird. So
I like it.
for those of you that are wondering, yeah, for those of you that are wondering whether or not you should study or whether or not it's worth spending the $20 on like a booklet. If you're not a good test taker, I say by all means buy it. This is
Hmm.
going to be the determining factor whether or not like you are really committed to wanting to join the military and you don't want to be stuck with like a really shit job. Please, please, please study your ass off because that number is essentially the determining factor whether or not you're going to love or hate your job for the next however many years you sign on for, if you
And
choose to sign on.
yeah, I think I think something that is really important that you just said is that if you don't take this test seriously, amount of the amount of job options that like you will have will be very limited. And like something also to then go with that is if you are looking at your possible jobs and you don't see the one that you want, you don't have to sign that day at MEPS. So they are trying to get you to sign a piece of paper. They cannot make you sign because that that would be a fraudulent enlistment. So you have the power. So if you don't see the job that you want, like if you like really want like CS, which is the which is the cook in the Navy. Like if you really want that rate and you don't see it on there, tell them hey, I only want this rate. And if it's not on there, like I'm not signing. They will they will find a way to get you that rate because like their only job is to supply bodies to the military. Like
The fleet,
that
yeah.
is that is their entire job. So you do not have to sign that day and take that test seriously.
Yeah, I didn't know that honestly when I first went through the process. So for those of you that are pretty indifferent about your job options, do what Joe said, and literally, if you aren't confident in what you are provided with, or even if like you don't even know.
Yeah,
So like, if you don't even know what the job is, ask questions. Please, please, please ask questions because like I keep saying, you don't want to be stuck with a job that you're going to be with for however many years that you sign on for. And like, you can probably switch your jobs eventually down the line, but it's like, that is so much paperwork and you can get denied of switching to another job. I just had an
absolutely.
instructor, I just had an instructor here where I'm at tell me that he tried to cross rate 8 different times and he got denied every single time. So
Yeah,
it is possible to not even, get the job that you want altogether. So please, when you're signing the dotted line, make sure that you are signing it for the job that you feel pretty confident in choosing and that, you would genuinely be interested in. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't choose a job because of the money or because of your sign-on bonus. One, because you're not going to get your sign-on bonus right away out of boot camp. That's not
yeah,
how it works. Um, you have to get through the schooling. You have to be rated or have your MOS through the schooling. Because right
hmm
when you come out of boot camp, you don't have you aren't technically the job that you are until you graduate from the schooling that you were sent to. And we'll get to that a little bit later in other episodes. But you don't get your sign-on bonus until essentially you hit the fleet.
Yeah.
And that sucks because you weren't told that right away. So please don't be alarmed when you don't see that. Oh, like where's that fat 20,000 sign-on bonus? Like, oh, I don't have it. Like I made it through boot camp, so I'm essentially the soldier or the marine or the sailor or whatever I am. Like,
My recruiter lied to me. Oh.
no, yeah, like don't freak out. Like you're not gonna get it right away. So chill out. Really make sure you are in the job that you want because it's interesting to you and not because of the money. So
Absolutely.
that would be my biggest advice. So um, for me, I know when I joined, my recruiters told me to make a list of 8 different jobs that I was interested in. They said, your homework tonight is to go home, look up different jobs, think what you really want to do, and then go from there. And I was like, okay, that's great. I chose different jobs ranging from like an artsier job. It's called mass communications or an MC. And so they essentially take the pictures and the videos and they're like the advertisers for the face of the branch that I wanted to join.
Neat.
And then, yeah, it was pretty cool. But unfortunately, I was told that that job opening was a very rare opening. It wasn't very common to get, which was kind of a bummer. Um, I chose aviation jobs. For some reason, aviation was just like, it was so cool. Like,
Yeah.
I know I just had a conversation with this with my class a couple weeks ago, and very comical. You're either, a dinosaur kid or a plane kid or a space kid or like a trinket, like whatever you are. And
Yeah.
I guess supposedly like I'm the plane kid, and
Yeah.
it's very funny. Because I have no exposure to airplanes. I've never flown in one. Like flying as like a pilot, which that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't have any pilots in my family, so it's like I don't really know where this quote unquote obsession has come from, but it's just very fascinating to see them flying in the sky. And I guess, defying the impossible as, the Wright brothers have clearly, done in history, which is great. But yeah, I don't know. I chose a lot of aviation rates. That was my biggest thing. I think there was like other BS ones that I chose as well. Just I think there was one for like being like a builder, like a BU. So like learning how to like move big construction vehicles and like doing
Ooh.
construction work, which like that was pretty interesting because I've had some sort of like a lick of interest in that when I was still a civilian at the time. So I kind of knew how to operate some machinery, but not like very big vehicles yet. So
Yeah.
yeah. But I know when I went to the liaison, my jobs that I was offered 3 jobs. I was offered ATC, so air traffic controller. I was offered MA, so like military police. And then the third one, I believe, is like it's like a machinist mate.
Yeah.
So not really what I wanted, but I had an aviation job. So I chose it. I picked it. And I was like, okay, great. Aviation, at least I'm in the right field, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Later that night, I get back to the hotel, which you stated that you were at for yours. I ate dinner and I called my recruiters and I told them, I said, hey, this is my score. This is what I chose. And they said, oh, that's a great job. Like, oh, like, lo and behold, I found out that, ATC is a very prestigious job altogether. Any aviation job is actually very prestigious. So
Yeah.
mad respect for any aviation people out there listening. Keep working your ass off. It is not a very easy field to be in.
No.
So ATC especially, I found out was a very, very high stress field. Unfortunately, it is a very high suicide rate field. And I did not want to be a part of that. I did not want to deal with that and have the stress every day, knowing that like after I finish the schooling, that could potentially be my risk every single day that I'd be battling, and I didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
So again, please make sure you are choosing a job for your mental health, because the military is not easy to begin with. Like you're going to experience a lot of things. You're going to see a lot of things that are very eye-opening. Um, I know I did for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, enough with the heavy. Oh my
Next
gosh.
topic.
Yeah.
All right.
Um,
So the debt program then.
oh yeah, that. Yeah, that's great.
So what was your experience with it?
Okay. I'm going to reiterate, DEP stands for Delayed Entry Program, DEP. Um, again, to reiterate, DEP is the period in between when you have gotten back from MEPS from your very first time, you signed the dotted line, you said, hey, this is the job that I want.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to you. So
Yeah.
it's between that time period of when you've actually signed your name to that contract to the day that you ship out. It's that period. So
Yes.
that can last depending upon if you are wanting to be a big go-getter. That can last between a couple weeks to a year,
Mm-hmm.
depending upon the route that you take. For me, I was in for almost a year or
Oh
a year.
wow.
It was a long process. Now, keep in mind, I signed on to like be in the military in like 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ship out until 2021. So I had that whole year because I was in my final year of college. I wanted to get my degree first. Um, so then I got that out of the way. I didn't want to just waste my college career, um, and put it down the drain. I
Yeah.
wanted to get a degree before I left. Kind of just like a little like goal, I guess I
Mm-hmm.
had of mine. So, whatever.
Sure.
So, um, also side note, going back to talking to the liaison, or like if you want to sign right then and there, you can tell them, hey, can you find a job that is no later than this said date? So I told the liaison, I said, hey, um, I don't care what job I get, essentially. I just need to make sure that this job allows me to ship out past May 8th. May 8th is
Yeah.
my college graduation date, by the way. Um, so I told them that, and they're like, okay, great, we can do that for you. So my ship out date was July 20th of 2021,
Mm-hmm.
and they accommodated to what I said, which thank God, that's their job.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that program. So I was in for a year. I made a ton of good friends. So if you guys, are in this STEP program for a longer period of time, I highly recommend making friends with these people. These are going to be your colleagues in the future, and assuming that they don't get in any trouble and that you don't either.
Yeah.
So, the DEP program for me, I know was very, very different to like compared to a lot of other people that were like in my division, in my training group when I went to boot camp. My DEP program was anywhere between 3 to 4 days a week. And what we focused on was our physical fitness. So we would do like practice PRTs, so like our physical fitness tests that my branch holds. And we would do other stuff as well. So like for different days that we weren't doing practice PRTs, which we did about twice a month, we would do very quote unquote long runs. So anywhere between 3 to 6 miles.
Mm-hmm.
We would do hill work. We would do, oh God, the worst, like when I first joined, we called them ladder push-ups. So you do one push-up and then you would do like a weird like in and out thing with your arm. And then you do two push-ups and then you do two in and outs with your arms. And you would go
Yeah.
all the way up from like 1 to 10, and then you go all the way down from 10 to 1.
Yeah.
Your arms were fried. Like, it was not fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for me, my background before I joined the military, I was a college athlete. I ran both track and cross country. So the physical fitness part wasn't really difficult on my end. And I kind of thought to myself, like, this is it. This is all I'm
Yeah.
doing. So For those of you, if you're wondering whether or not you think you are physically capable of joining, test yourself. And okay, not to bash on the Marines because Marines, I love you raw every day. But like, if you are joining, say the Army, test yourself because I'm pretty sure what their test is like 2 miles, 2 mile run.
So I know that all the requirements are all posted online. So something I would
You can
say
definitely
is like try and find the requirements for
the
your
branch you
boot
want to
camp.
join.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And try and establish a baseline, right? So like if you can only do 10 push-ups right now, then every day do 10 push-ups and then maybe next week you can do 11 and there's that slow constant progression that will get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, I agree. I was not very strong in my upper body. I'll just, give a brief description background of like how I started out. So like I said, I couldn't even do like the ladder push-ups. I think I was like gassed after like doing number 5
Yeah.
for like going from like 1 to 10. I didn't even go down
Mhm.
from like 10 to 1 yet. I was gassed.
Yeah.
Um, so I couldn't even do that. And then eventually, later on, getting closer towards like what December, January, I was able to do 62 push-ups in 2 minutes,
Oh man.
which yeah, like it was a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like it was completely different. I was like, wow. Um, and that was just being consistent with it. I would do those ladder push-ups every single day in the gym, every
Mhm.
single day. And like I didn't skip, even the days that I was really tired, I didn't skip. You really have to be a go-getter if you're really serious about this. Um,
Absolutely.
and it makes a difference. Also with like I know a lot of people hate running, hate it.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, especially, like nobody wants to be pounding their legs in the ground, for however far. But seriously, take those runs serious when you're being tested upon those. It really, really, really does make a difference. Go
Mhm.
for a mile run every day. And then when you feel confident, excuse me, um, boost it up to a mile and a quarter, a mile and a half, a mile
Yeah.
and 3/4, 2 miles, really work up and don't do the bare minimum that your test requirements require you to do. Build up
Mhm.
your stamina. Go a little bit past that.
Yeah.
I know for my branch, they require us to do a mile and a half run. So every single day, I would go on a 3, 4, 5 mile run
Mhm.
um, on my own, every
Yeah.
morning if I wasn't with my depth group as is. Um, so I do that. Lifting weights, depending upon the branch that you go into, definitely lift weights. I know for my branch, we gear more towards calisthenics. So it's, body weight stuff
Mhm.
as is. So we're not really lifting crazy, throwing like 200 pounds over our head and then like,
Yeah.
oh, like sprint after it. Like, it's not like that. It's not what you see in the movies. I promise you, it's not.
No.
Um, it's pretty relaxed. So, I don't know. My diet program was pretty chill. My recruiters were uh they were chill about it. I guess towards the end when a lot of the OGs were graduating and I was like one of the OGs that was like left,
Mhm.
it started to get a lot more strict because, there were a bunch of new kids, they didn't know what to do, and um it was getting kind of frustrating because they were kind of goofing off at these meetings and my recruiters are getting kind of sick and tired of it.
Yeah.
Um so there'd be other days, like I said, because it would be about 3 to 4 days per week that we'd be having these meetings.
Mhm.
The day that we weren't PTing, we would be doing classroom work. And we would have this, it's called the START guide. That's what my branch was given.
Yep.
Um, you're going to get it once when you go to MEPS. You're going to get like a little goodie basket, I guess you could say, like a little goodie bag.
Once you've
So,
signed, you will have a reward, and that reward will include like a water bottle. It'll be like a little like a drawstring bag that is like full of just like all the paperwork you got that day, and in that bag will be your start guide. And the start guide is essentially just like everything that you need to know, and and then also there will be a list of like what you should probably bring with you on your ship day.
Yeah. Don't lose that. That's like your Bible. If
Yes.
you are going to, you'll know what I'm talking about if you go into the branch that we are referring to. Which, side note, Joe is in the same branch as me, so he can, if you guys haven't picked up on it, like we are definitely using the same lingo as each other. So it makes a lot of sense with our process of what we've done.
Yes.
But moral of the story, keep the start guide. That is your sacred Bible before you ship out. You need to, I don't want to say need to, but it is highly, highly, highly recommended that you study the things in
Yes.
that book. Funny story, my first classroom meeting, we had like a little mini test, and
Mhm.
my recruiter, looked at me and he was like, "Hey Shmo, tell me the seventh general order." And I was like,
The what?
"Eh?" And no, I just gave the blankest stare. I was like,
What do you mean?
what, I don't even know what that is. I was
Yeah.
like, is this something that, like, I need to read on? Like, I don't know. And he's like, did you not start studying? I was like, yes, we know, this is a study. Like, what
I
did
didn't even
you
know I was
study?
supposed to open it.
I didn't know. I thought it was just like extra like BS of like, oh, like, who y'all, like, go do this, go do that, join this branch. Like, yay.
Give this to your friends and then
Honestly.
like have them join.
No, literally, I thought that's what it was.
Mhm.
Honest to God, I was about to throw it out because I didn't know what it was. Like, okay, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But please, the Start Guide is your saving grace.
Yes, it
So,
is.
what did you study out of the Start Guide?
So I studied the Sailor's Creed. That was the like first thing that I was like, okay, like I am going to know this first. And then from there it was the rank structure I want to say. So like what what every rank wore on their collar device. Uh, what they all wore uh, on their like dress blue sleeves, and like what like everybody wear for their uniform. And then from there I would be asked questions about that stuff, and the questions that would always stump me were the 11 general orders, because there's 11 of them and they aren't just like a two phrase like blurb. It is like a legit sentence. So I just like didn't want to study those because that would be hard, and like that would take time. But uh, what I ended up doing for those was I wrote them down on a piece of paper, and so I had lined paper and I wrote down the first one on the front and the back side, and like as I'm writing it, like I would say it to myself, and I would work on like knowing it, saying it, and and then I'll move to the second one. And as I'm writing the second one, I would say the first one, then I would say the second one, no, and then I would write the second one, and then I just repeated that process until I had all 11 of them down. And from there, I know that my DEP program didn't really test like anything outside of that. So if my recruiters asked me like any of the questions, like I always knew. And so when we ended up doing like a little like study session, I was we were playing essentially like we were essentially playing like Jeopardy. And so
Yep.
uh, I was on a team, and then like whenever we had a question, I would always know it. And it got to the point where my recruiters were like, "Okay, Joe, you can answer no more questions." And it's like, okay, that is that is probably the best thing you can hear them say, is that you are just you are not making this fun for anybody, and you are not like helping the group at all. Uh, and then also on the plus side of that is, if you know your stuff prior to shipping out to boot camp will be so much easier. So
Oh, such a breeze on the bus.
definitely take advantage of the months or the days or the weeks or however long you have until you ship out to just make sure that you know, like at least the Sailor's Creed, the rank structure, the 11 the 11 general orders, because that is the stuff that they will always be testing you in boot camp. So definitely do that.
So that doesn't even go just with like the specific branch that we are referencing. Um, if you are given any such like packet per se,
Mm-hmm.
please study that. If anything, do the basics of studying your rank structure with whatever branch you're going into, because that's going to make your life so much easier when you go to basic or
Yes.
camp or whatever you guys call it. That's going to help you out a lot, and that's going to also help you not quote unquote get beat in boot camp, which again, that is another
Story for a
podcast
different day.
episode.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, when I was studying the cert guide, I studied pretty much what you said, the 11 general orders. Um, Side note, for those of you that are going into the branch that I'm in, there is a song on YouTube that you can listen to, and you can like speed it up, slow it down, whatever you got to do. But it will show the words that you are supposed to say, and this guy like raps the song. It's actually really catchy.
Hell yeah.
Um, oh yeah, yeah. Shout out to Decker and I. Decker, if you were listening to this, I adore you. I miss you. I hope you are having fun wherever you are at right now. Kisses and all. Anyways, we would listen to that song on repeat before we would
I
go.
like it.
It was so bad. Like we were like, oh my god, is it really coming to this right now? And we would like sing this song to each other. And then we would go to these like meetings, and it would be funny because they would like shotgun us like, hey, like what is the fifth gen order? And you would like roll that off your tongue so quick, and
Mm-hmm.
like you just knew it,
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. So know your 11 general orders. Side for those of you that don't know what general orders are I guess like the guidelines, the rules of when you stand a watch, or I guess as the Marines call it, post.
Yep.
You stand this, and these rules, if you break them, like you're breaking a rule. Like that is illegal to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can get in huge trouble in the military if you break any of these rules. So these are your guidelines, and if you don't know them, you're gonna kind of screwed. So be
Yeah.
sure to know these, know the general basis of them. I know it's pretty universal across every branch of like what it is. It may not be verbatim of like each other, but I know that like I think the Army has like 3 general orders, but it's like the Navy's like 11 general orders are like mashed into like 3, and then like the Marines have like I don't even know how many they have, but it's
I
like
believe the Marines are the same as the Navy.
I would say so, since they're a department of it as well.
Yeah.
Um, so again, know your ranks of enlisted and commissioned personnel, commissioned meaning officers.
Mm-hmm.
Know what we call collar devices. So they're going to be little shiny collar devices on everyone's uniforms. Or I know for the Navy they have these
Tabs.
little like tabs. Yeah.
Yep.
And I know Air Force does the same thing. They have like these little like Velcro patch tab things on like the center of their chest
Yep.
that indicates. Army's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, know your tabs, know your collar devices. That's going to help out tremendously in the future.
So much.
Yeah, it just shows respect, and it shows
There
that
is
you have to give it down.
there is nothing wrong. No. There is
Words.
calling somebody the wrong rank, and and this goes like especially like the like more like higher up you go. Like if you call like an E7 or like somebody who you should like definitely know the rank of the wrong rank, like they will definitely give you shit for it, and especially in boot camp.
Yeah, it's all it comes down to. One, it's great that it's a knowledge thing, but two, it's also a respect thing.
Absolutely.
It's carrying yourself with dignity and and just knowing, hey, I'm presenting myself in this manner. I give a shit about your rank. I'm going to obey what you tell me to do. And, I genuinely want to be a good person. I want to make a change in the
Yeah.
branch that I am in. That's, it shows respect.
Mhm.
It's annoying, yes, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
Um, no, this is one thing that I didn't really study much. Know your dress uniform, um, like patches, stripes,
Mhm.
insignias, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
Know this for both the enlisted and the officers. That is different from like your actual color devices or tabs on your like regular working uniforms. So your dress uniforms are like for more like preppier occasions.
Formal
Um,
stuff.
yeah, formal stuff. Thank you. Um, but they are two completely different things. So definitely recognize those as well. Um, I also had to know the abbreviations for ships and aircrafts for my branch, um, just to make it easier. I don't really know why. It was just an
Yeah.
extra thing. It helped out because you had to take a test once when you got to boot camp, um, based on like the general knowledge, anyways.
Mhm.
And then the phonetic alphabet, that is a
That's a huge one
universal,
too. Yeah.
yes, it is a universal alphabet that is used across all branches. Um, so like A is for alpha, B is for Bravo, like but etc. But
Yeah.
it's like know that, and it's like it's golden. Like you're fine. We'll tell you why you need to learn all this stuff for later on in the boot camp episode, but please know those before you ship out.
Mhm.
It's gonna make your life so much easier.
Yes.
Um, all right.
How did you balance? So you said you were doing school as well. How did you balance
Yeah,
school and the debt program?
great question. Okay, so I was going to school
Mhm.
and going to DEP at the same time. So I was in that for a year. Keep that in mind. So I also worked summer jobs, and I worked a job as well towards the end of my school year, right before summer hit as well. So it was a lot to
Yeah.
juggle. Um, I was not running though, so I wasn't competing in college anymore. So I was done with that. So that was a little bit of stress off my plate. But I honestly, thinking back on it, like I honestly don't know how I wasn't having panic attacks every day. I'm like, oh my God, like this dev program's like 3 hours long, and then I have school for like 8 hours, and studio work, and my job is for 8 hours. If I'm not doing a double, then it's a 16. But it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like I don't know. I think for those of you that have lived on your own for a couple years, you don't live with mom and dad or with whoever is your caretaker. Um, you already kind of have the gist and the understanding of how time management works. And before I even had the idea of wanting to join the military, I was a student athlete, and time management was kind of a struggle at first because I never had to do it much in high school.
Mhm.
Um, but when I did it like freshman, sophomore, junior year of college, I really got the hang of it by sophomore year. Like I
Yeah.
really knew, okay, how to prioritize my time in this aspect. How much time should I dedicate, doing this? How long should it take me to take a shower, to eat, to cook?
Mhm.
Like everything was pretty much blocked out in my day, mentally. So like
Yeah.
I knew. Um, so that final year, right before I shipped out, was just kind of like an extension. I knew how to prioritize very well. And I have a feeling that for those of you that are older and not coming right out of mom and dad's house, that it won't be difficult as well. Like you'll really know, you'll maybe be going to college, or you'll have a job and you'll be working and prioritizing.
Mhm.
Um, it won't be that difficult. It wasn't really that difficult for me. I
Yeah.
think the biggest pain was my debt meetings were held in different locations throughout the tri-state area that I lived in. And that was kind of a pain.
Yeah.
But other than that, it really wasn't that bad. I still got homework done in time. I went to work on time. I lived like a normal civilian.
Mm-hmm.
And another side note for you guys, um, before like your last couple of days, weeks, or even a couple of months, really, really enjoy the last bit of freedom that you're going to have as a civilian. Go out with friends, go out with family members. If you are not a family person, I completely get that. Um, but try to have like a family dinner, a sit down family dinner.
Yeah.
Really, really push for that. Really stress that to your family and your friends. Like, hey, you're not going to see me for a very long time. But really make the most of it. Make memories, take pictures, do silly things, but obviously staying out of trouble, but
Yeah.
um, really make those memories count because you're not going to have that freedom as a civilian for much longer.
Mm-hmm. I think
What
that like
about you?
something. Well, so to add on to what you just said about like making memories like prior to shipping is like even if it is like just for like a lunch or like a dinner, just like ask your friends, like ask like your close friends, ask your family or like anybody like who like you want to just like make like a memory with, just like say like, hey, like I am going to be away for a while. I would I would like really appreciate it if like we could just have like a dinner and just like catch up. And what I ended up doing is I I had not seen I had not seen a lot of my dad's friends in a while. Like I'm talking like 10 years or so. And I actually like talked to my mom about it. I'm like, "Hey, like can we try and do something like prior to me shipping and just have like everyone like come down and just like have like a cookout or just like something to just like catch up and like see old faces." And that is what we ended up doing, and it was a great time. Like just like seeing everybody, just like seeing all of their like kids who I used to play with and like how they've grown, like what they're up to now. It was it was a great time to just de-stress prior to shipping, and I I would not change any moment of it. I mean, like also like I went to my friend's house and his family made me lasagna. It was
Ooh.
insane lasagna. It was so good, but like just like trying to make memories prior to shipping because you will not live a quote unquote like normal life for like a while because like boot camp will be very stressful. Like you will not have like any access to the like outside world. And then like if you go to like A school or if you go to like AIT, you will you will have like more freedom, but it still won't be as a civilian. So
No.
definitely take advantage of the last little bit that you have as a civilian.
I remember my last couple of days. It was like the last week as a civilian. Um, I hung out with like my different group of friends. So I
Mm-hmm.
had my college friends. I had my childhood best friend that I've known since I was 5. Hello,
Yeah.
Bridget, if you were listening. Um, Bridget and I, we went downtown in our hometown, and we had tacos, which
Ooh.
side note, for those of you in my hometown, you will know that Condado taco slap. It is so good. Oh my God. And then I had, what was it? Skyline chili. That was like a big thing in my hometown too. Um, La Rosa's Pizza. That was like another thing. Like I tried to have like all of like the iconic foods of my
Yeah.
hometown before I shipped out. Like it's like a thing. It's like you're like fattening yourself up and it's like, oh my God. I would go rock climbing as well. Like that was my thing that I did right before I shipped out. I rock climbed a lot with my college friends. So I had one of my rock climbing buddies that I went to a gym with and we rock climbed for a couple hours.
Nice.
Um, I don't even know what else we did, but yeah, it was nice. It was really nice. And Side note, you're gonna find out who your true friends are real quick
Yes.
within those last couple of weeks. You'll try to make plans left and right, and you will notice that your friends, quote unquote friends, will either be there for you or they won't. And it's
Yeah.
a really sad eye opener. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. It is crazy because like you will, like you said, you will do your absolute best to just like say like, hey, like, do you want to like go and do like this, and like they like might agree at first, but then like the like day of or like got like maybe like an hour before like you're supposed to leave, like they'll say like, hey, like I'm sorry, but like something came up, and
Of
like granted,
course.
like that could be like a very like a valid like reason, like hey, my my like my family came in town, and like that could be like a extremely like valid reason, but like if they don't like try to like continue to like make it work, it is a very it is very much an eye opener as to like who like actually cares.
Yeah, who
And
cares who doesn't? Yeah.
it is it is sad to just like know that like, oh, like the like past like however many years that you thought that you were close to this person, like they actually don't care at all. But like it is definitely an eye opener to just like the the world to be living in, and
Absolutely.
who you will want to continue to have like in your life.
Facts. And that goes with like any friends as well, regardless of like when you met them. Um, you can have like the oldest friend of time, but they could also be the shittiest person to like actually try to make plans with. And like, thank God, Bridget, that you're not like that because I adore you and you always, hit me up whenever I'm like back in town or like,
Mhm.
you know, I miss you like crazy. But anyways, you're gonna find it out really quick. And it doesn't help as well that like your nerves are already really, really fried because your ship date is getting closer. You don't really know
Yeah.
what to expect. If you were like me, you're watching YouTube video after YouTube video of like what to expect
Mhm.
or, asking as many questions as possible. And, guys, side note, this is the reason why we're making this podcast. Not to get off topic here, but I think we made this podcast to really put out information and our own personal experiences, and our own personal advice. Not saying that we are like professionals in this by any means, but um, we're trying to put out content for which I know that I wish I had
Yeah.
uh, right before I shipped out. And I didn't have much. I would look up YouTube videos of like how to do military hairstyles and like, what to expect for boot camp or, what is A school? What's deployment like? And it's like, I didn't know anything. I
Mhm.
really didn't. And I wish, honest to God, I wish I had like a podcast to listen to. So this is really what this is trying to be geared towards. I mean, it's going to be geared towards different things later on down the line, but this first episode definitely geared towards future sailors or poolies or whatever all the other branches call them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pre-civilian future whatever you're going to be. It's geared towards you guys as of right now, but anybody can listen for real.
Yeah.
So, I guess I mentioned ship day. Want to talk about that?
Sure. So your ship day is the final day that you are essentially a civilian, right? So you you'll be told to meet at the recruiter's office at whatever time, and this will be the last time you will see your family for a while, and it can be very scary. I think at least in my experience, I I had been away from home for like a few weeks at a time, and it was never like horrible for me. And I don't really want to say that I like ever got homesick like during boot camp or like even now, but it is definitely a huge change. Like if you have always been like at like your family side or like uh or with like whoever you're with at the time. But so my advice on ship day, uh, so when you get to boot camp, you will have this box, and everything that you brought with you on your ship day has to fit in this box. So I would I would not pack anything too big, and the bag I ended up bringing was the bag that my liaison at MEPS actually gave me. So I had my start guide in there. I had toothbrush, toothpaste, some deodorant. I had my phone charger, wallet. I had my social because you'll need that. If you if you are going in during a pandemic or a time where they require masks, bring a mask. Uh, if you have the COVID vaccine or any vaccine that they will need to see a vaccine card, bring that. Bring bring anything that you would bring for like a little trip, because that is essentially what it is, right? So you are staying at a hotel the first night, and the next day you are going back to MEPS to do your weigh-in, to make sure that nothing huge has changed from the time you have initially joined and you are waiting to ship until the day you are actually shipping. So don't bring too much. I would I would definitely say bring like extra clothes, so like extra underwear, extra socks, because the stuff they issue you will probably not enjoy too much. And I would definitely say bring like gym shoes. Uh, I would not bring like cowboy boots or like your like nicest Jordans or like any of your like fancier shoes, because those will be the only shoes outside of what they issue that you will have on you after boot camp or after whatever your branch calls it. And I don't know about you, but I don't really like dropping thousands of dollars on all this new shoes, clothes. So like if you don't want to spend all of your entirety of like boot camp's earnings on stuff that you know that you have at home, I would bring some extra stuff, right? You don't need to always buy new stuff. You can use what you have prior.
Absolutely. I know that when I was shipping out, I brought a lot of the stuff that you mentioned. I brought a little bit of extra stuff too. But I literally just thought of this. Keep in mind, wherever your basic training boot camp, whatever you call it, is at. So for ours was up north. Um, and our like next command that we both, went to, um, was way down south.
Yeah.
So the temperature change is going to be, at the time it wasn't drastically different, but it was still going to be different in
Mhm.
the later months that we had stayed in our next command. So you really keep that in mind as well. So, just because it could be summertime where you're, going to be at, you know, bring a sweatshirt with you because your next command that you're going to could be really, really cold.
Yeah.
You don't know. So you kind of think ahead when you're doing that. So for me, I brought a small backpack that I had when I was a college athlete. I brought that with me. Steer clear of suitcases with wheels that you see.
They will not
Uh,
fit in the box.
they will not. Don't even bring like a big gym bag, either like the duffel bags.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even bring that. Like I know that they're fabric, so they're gonna collapse in easy, but like those are bulky. So really, really steer clear of that. Honestly, drawstring bag or a very tiny backpack would suffice.
Mhm.
Um, Bring, travel size toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant. If you're really a stickler like I was, you can bring a razor. Um, However, I left all of my toiletries and my razor in the hotel that I stayed at before I went right back to MEPS and I got shipped up the next day.
Yeah.
Um, so, that was less things I had to pack in my box, before I left. Um, I brought a couple extra clothes. Like I said, I brought gym shoes, so I was wearing like old running shoes that I had.
Mhm.
So bring like clothes that you would not mind getting dirty. And when I mean dirty, I mean
Yeah.
like you're gonna be in an airplane. You're gonna be walking through the airport. You're gonna be waiting around all
Sitting on the
day.
ground.
Yeah, it's gross. Like just keep in mind, like this is now going to be your lifestyle. Bring a sweatshirt, underwear. Ladies specifically, this is geared towards you if you're listening. Um, Bring underwear that covers your bottom. So don't bring that Victoria's Secret cute lingerie shit that you know that you want to turn your significant other on with. Like don't be bringing that, okay? This is the military now. They don't really want to see your hoo-ha. They don't want to see your cute little biscuits. They don't give a shit. They're gonna give you ugly granny panties anyway. They're literally gonna put you in a room and tell you to strip down bare naked. We'll get into that later on down the line, but bring clothing that is modest as well. So don't be showing your legs off, even though you got those great calves. We love that. Don't be doing that. Bring bring some pants, bring a modest covered, t-shirt or whatever for the day that you ship out.
Yeah.
Um, what else?
I
Bring
think
a sports bra, comfortable clothes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think something also, and I know that like we didn't really touch on this prior, but when you do your height and weight, you will be in your underwear, and if you are a female, you will be in your your underwear and like a bra, right?
Yeah, we can hit back at that real quick. So ladies, like I said, don't be wearing that lacy Victoria's Secret shit. Um, you want like like either briefs or I can't like bikini cut. So something that will cover both cheeks. Don't wear a thong. Um, One for sanitation reasons, other reason for being modesty here. Nobody wants to be looking at your cheeks doing that, the duck walk and you have a little piece of string up your cricky crack when you're down in a deep squat. Like nobody wants to see that. Um, Also, if you're on your period during that time, it's gonna help a lot too if you're not wearing a thong and then like you're bleeding through. Like that's just the mess, the whole avenue that you don't want to go down.
Yeah.
Um, when you're also going, and this is just for height and weight too. So for your first time that you're going to MEPS and you're doing your height and weight, wear a legitimate bra. Try to wear something that's neutral colored, so either close to your skin tone, white, black, tan, whatever the case may be. Um, Try to stick with that for reasons being it's easier to take on and off. And they also know that you're not like storing anything in like a sports bra that could add to extra weight or God forbid you hide something in there that you shouldn't be hiding. So yeah, wear a legitimate bra. No like push-up bra, no like weird clasp that like zigzags and does this weird shit. Just regular old standard bra. Pick it up at Target, Walmart, wherever.
Hmm.
Easy day. Um, I guess okay. Going back to shipping stuff. So shipping day stuff that I would have brought in or did bring. Um, I brought my computer and my computer charger because again, I was thinking farther on down the line. I'm gonna be needing this stuff for my next command. So I'm going to bring it with me, either just for entertainment purposes or for actual work purposes. I brought my computer and charger. I knew asking from prior people that were in my debt program that they were not going to jostle this box around.
Yeah.
So I was safe to like keep this computer in my computer case as well as like my chargers that I brought with me and that they weren't gonna like get damaged. So I
Hmm.
knew that. Um, I brought my phone charger. I also brought a small black booklet that had like addresses and phone numbers to write letters and like give phone calls to later on down the line in boot camp. Um, I brought stamps as well because I'm a big sentimental letter writer. I wrote so many letters in boot camp. I loved it.
I wrote
I know
one.
I am a cringy person. I swear. It's cringe-based ratio. Um, I brought my start guide, like you mentioned. Bring bring cash as a side note because you will be hungry in the airport. Bring cash. I would try to steer clear of like debit and credit cards. Um, it's just again, it's a hassle. It's money coming out of your account. You don't really want to pay it off. Bring the cash. boom, one and done.
Yeah.
Bring your mask. Uh, I don't know what it's like for you newbies coming in. Bring a mask just in case. Social security card, vaccine card. Um, Bringing your bank information. So
Very
your routing
important.
number. Yes, 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 yes. If you do not want to use the banking system that they offer, bring your own bank information. I brought my banking information because I didn't want to use the banking system that they were telling us, hey, this is the option that you could use. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, you need like your routing number and your actual account number um, information. So then they
Yeah.
know like, hey, like this is how we can set it up, blah, 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 blah. Bring your driver's license as well, just as like a form of ID.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was all that I brought. So,
As a
oh, also oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Thanks. Um, Ladies, don't worry about feminine hygiene products. When you get to boot camp or basic training or wherever you're going, they will issue pads and tampons. However, for me, TMI, so gentlemen, close your ears if you were disgusted by this topic. Um, I use like a Diva cup. So I use like a silicone cup, shoved it up there, let it, you know, collect, and then, clean it out afterwards. Um, I would highly suggest getting one of those because girls are nasty, nasty, nasty. Um, there were many females that would not wash their hands after doing their business in the bathroom. They would leave their dirty products just unwrapped or just lying out in the bathroom, and they wouldn't
No.
throw. Yes, they would not throw it away. It was disgusting. I'm like, that is so germy by so many means. So ladies, if you are very just grossed out by that, I would definitely consider buying the cup, a Diva cup of some sort, or whatever the other brands are out there. um but that's just what I was used to. I know that my best friend, shout out to Danica Golden, uh, she would mention to me that she wished that she brought hers as well.
Yeah.
It is very convenient to have, I'm telling you. And we'll get into that later on in the boot camp episode. But that's again, if you were worried about that, I wouldn't worry about whether or not you should bring it, unless of course if you are on your period when you ship out. Then of course bring what you need to bring. Um, and go from there.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, how did you? So, I don't want to talk too much about boot camp now because I think we will definitely do like a
We'll get there when we cross that bridge.
yes, but I think we can briefly talk about just like how did you deal with the like homesickness or like is there any like huge lessons you learned while you were going through that like definitely changed your like look at just like how you will have to like deal with the military.
Yeah. So you mentioned homesickness. So, um, like I said before, I'm a very sentimental person. So writing letters was like my thing. Like I would write letters to friends, even though like I was still a civilian. I would write letters to my friends and like give them the letter in person. I was just weird. Like I was a really weird person. I don't know why. Um, Even when I was in college, like I would write letters to like my friends in other colleges. I don't know why. I was just weird like that. And
Yeah.
so, it's just something kind of cutesy and, something that you can hold on to. It's something that's personal.
Mhm.
So I wrote a lot of letters to family, friends, mentors, coaches, etc. Um, I don't know. I really think that writing those letters got all of my stress thoughts out from my head and onto a piece of paper. It's just how people say like journaling is like a way of like a stress reliever.
Yeah.
Um, what about you? Like, did you have anything that you did?
So I don't think I really had any just like huge issues with boot camp, like outside of just like this is a new experience. Uh, I will say that like I only wrote like one letter, and I know that something I brought with me was I brought books. So so if there was like any downtime, which there wasn't a whole lot of, but like if there was like a time where I just wanted to just like sit down like in my rack and just read, like I could do that. And it is definitely an adjustment, and you will have to get used to it, but try your best to just learn how to de-stress. And I know that like people love to use their phones nowadays, but you have to know how to de-stress without going on TikTok or scrolling through Instagram or watching YouTube videos. Like you have to know how to do that.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. If you are like a phone addict now as a civilian, try to break that habit. Try to really find a new hobby, a new niche that you can get into. I know before I joined the military, there were like some days when I'm like, oh, like I'm like a phone addict. Like I'm gonna be watching video after video after video, like
Hmm.
scrolling through Pinterest and pinning this, pinning that, like um, and then there were other days when I would make art. Like I went to school for art, so like I was, really big into drawing before I shipped out. I would listen to music. Um, it's it's just different ways that got my attention off of that little device that's so easy to just pick up and hold in your hand.
Yeah.
Um, I what else? Oh, side note, um, I learned so much patience in boot camp.
Really?
I'm not gonna. Yes. You are gonna find wherever you go all walks of life. Keep that in mind. So, for me, I came from a pretty sheltered home life. I wasn't really around the gangs and the violence and drugs and all of that nonsense. Um, and I have met walks of life where unfortunately these people were surrounded by that from a very young age, and it's very, very sad to listen to their stories. And I'm not going to say specific names of who saw what, but um, it's really interesting. But you can definitely see that those events have affected who they are as a person in regards to their maturity level. Um, and a lot of the females that I trained with for those 2 months that I was in, a lot of them didn't have very high maturity levels, which, I guess call them naive or maybe just calling them young,
Hmm.
but, they would do a lot of stupid shit that would honestly piss me off as a civilian. It's like, oh my God, did you really just ask that question? Or did you
Yeah.
really just do that? And it's like, you really gotta learn to just understand that saying less means so much more. Um,
Absolutely.
not back talking, not complaining, and just knowing, hey, your higher ups are in charge of you for a reason. They have all the right answers for a reason, telling you to do this specific way at this specific time for a reason.
They are also
So,
watching what you do. So like even though like you might think that like oh like I'm just shining my boots or I'm shining my shoes for no reason. No, like they see what you do and they see what you don't do. Right? Like if you don't take the time to make sure that your bed is nicely made or that your boots are shined or that your shoes are shined, they will definitely take note. And I know for the branch that we joined, there was an opportunity for 10% of your training group or your division to be promoted to the next rank, and I was fortunate enough to be part of that 10%, but that came through hard work and making sure that whenever I was looked at, like there was no major issues, like that I had no IPs in my uniform. I I did not look like a bag of ass, which is something you will hear a lot, but just like making sure that you present yourself well, and that is something that my RDCs definitely drilled into me was your appearance is everything. And if you look bad, that will just say that like, hey, like I just don't give a shit about how I look and like how this uniform is worn.
Absolutely. It reflects who you are as a person, whether or not you have the discipline to give a shit about, the detail.
Yeah.
So you're gonna hear that a lot too, attention to detail. Ugh. But it's like it's true. It is so true. Um, so yeah, really that goes along with like knowing the ranks and the proper terminology, that you're
Mhm.
using. It just shows, you're representing yourself. So, when you put on that uniform and like I know that like when I received mine, like, oh, it was like such a cool thing. Like again, I don't want to get too deep into this, but I know like when I put on that uniform now and I look, I have my branch on one side of my chest, but then I have my family's name on the
Yeah.
other side. I don't just represent myself, I represent my family. And that's embarrassing if I like, I pop off and I do some dumb shit and I get yelled at for that. I just embarrassed my family. I
You are
should
the
be
rep-
ashamed.
you are the sole representation of everyone with the same last name as you. And
Absolutely.
and if you just are like having a bad day, sure. But you cannot consistently make excuses and say that every day is a bad day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
Question quick.
Answer quick.
What are your thoughts on having a relationship going through boot camp?
Oh. Oh my goodness.
Because I did not
Oh my
have one
goodness.
personally, but I know that you did.
Yes, I did. Okay. Here are my thoughts. Don't do it.
No?
Do not do not do it. Please, for the love of God, do not do it. The exception B, you are A, married, or B, you are engaged. And the engagement is still kind of iffy. But if you are married, fine. Stay married. You made that promise, you made that commitment to that person. Stay married. However, if you are in a relationship and you were just dating, you're doing your cutesy little high school fling or your little screw buddy on the side or whatever you're doing, please, please, please. And this is just from my personal experience only. I know so many other people that have had the very same similar experience as mine. Do not do it. Um, Dear John, Dear Jane, whatever you want to call it, those letters are no joke. They are a thing.
And they're rolling in.
They are rolling in by like between week 3 to like week 6. They are rolling in left and right. I think every single female that had like a long-term relationship, and I'm talking long-term between like a year to like a couple years, like long-term, high school wise long-term.
Yeah.
Um, you know, every single one of them ended for the
Damn.
dumbest reason. And I was one of them.
Oh,
I
I
was
miss
one of
you.
the yeah, Crimea River. Um, I'm not going to name names, but I know that unfortunately some girls found out a little too late that their significant other was either cheating or they lost interest or they just couldn't do it. And it's like, okay, love that.
Yeah.
Cute. Ooh, funny story. I don't know why this just popped into my head. So I had two females that came from the same station as each other.
Mhm.
And I'm sure if like any of the girls from my division that are listening to this, oh my God, I'm so sorry if like I'm calling you out and you eventually listen to the story, but like not gonna lie, it was kind of funny. Um, these two girls, one of them was bi, one of them was a lesbian, and they were engaged to each other prior, yes, prior to joining. And
They
I
were in the
guess
same
one of
division?
yes, they were in the same division. However, they broke off the engagement right before they shipped, so they didn't have to fill out any paperwork.
That's awkward.
Yeah,
Was it on
which makes it
purpose or
even
was it like an actual reason?
I don't know. I never really got that deep into conversation with them about it, but the one female she was bi, she ended up so she ended up like breaking the relationship off with this girl or vice versa, whoever ended it, I don't really care. She ended up dating a 30 something year old male.
Ooh,
This girl, oh God, she was what, 19, 20, 21? I
aiming
don't know. She
high.
was aiming high, very, very high. And I was like, you do you, boo, whatever. Um, and it was weird. And so she was dating this guy for about, I don't know, I want to say a year, but don't quote me on that. And again, I don't want to get too in detail with this story, but long story short, she broke off that relationship with that 30-year-old for a guy in my brother division. And then when we got to our next command, she got engaged to him. She had known him, kid you not, she had known him for 20 hours on a
Oh,
bus ride.
that that
They,
that's a long time.
yeah,
20 hours? I mean, like you know
yeah.
so much about that person at that point.
So they sat next to each other on the bus from like our like boot camp whatever to our next command, and ironically this girl was going to the same command that I was, so I got to know all the tea. She quote unquote fell in love with this guy my brother did because they sat next to each other for 20 hours, had a whole ass conversation, and they got engaged within like maybe a month or two later. It was the funniest thing. And I
That
remember
is
telling my
very
friends, like,
funny.
yo, what? It was so weird. I'm like, oh God.
I will say you definitely do get close to people if you sit in a bus with them for 20 hours.
No, the guy that was sitting next to me had me squished up against the bus window. Like, it was
That's
like an MMA
trash.
fighter. And I was like, oh God. Yeah,
So
I
just
was like,
huge.
Jesus. He was massive. God love him, though. He was so sweet.
Yeah.
So, moral of the story, guys, really consider significant other relationship ordeal. If you think that it's the right decision to do it, by all means pursue it, but really, really, really understand what you are getting into. Um, it's gonna put your relationship to the ultimate test.
Yeah.
Like it is a very, very hard thing to do, especially if you guys are seeing each other damn near almost every day, in the civilian world before you ship out. Um, I will say from my personal experience, my relationship um, with this person, they were also in the military at the time. Granted, they were reserves, but they knew that going through basic training, boot camp, whatever, and then going to school for however many months for your job, that is a very long time being spent away from your significant other. And so I know when I received my letter, it was a shocker.
Yeah.
Um, and I wasn't expecting it. So we'll get into that whole just story later on down the line, but really consider going into the military with a relationship.
Absolutely.
Um,
Is that it?
I think that's it. I mean, we'll get more into boot camp experiences in another episode. Next
Absolutely.
episode, right?
Should
Next
be,
one?
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, hitting that boot camp.
Well, I think
Wow.
I think we can call it quits then.
I think we can.
All right.
This
Well,
has been productive. Wow.
I'd say mission was successful. All right. So
I Yeah.
this is the end of the first episode. Again, I am Joe,
And I am Shmo.
and this was episode 1.